Welcome to the Tyese Show, news and ooze, where you get your news, but you'll always get your ooze. I'm your host, Tyese, and before I go any further, please make sure you download the Coyoteman Show online on your mobile apps, also on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and you can watch us live. You can also contact us live. And I know it's football season, so if you're not able to watch on Sunday evenings, please make sure you catch the replay at www.coyotemanonline.com/Tyese Show. All right, let's get started. I have with me today a very talented young man. He is a model, an actor, and a comedian. So we're going to get into all of that and his name. Say your name.
Larry Lancaster, beautiful people. Don't believe the model part. I don't know where that came from. I think my manager put that on there. And people always like, just because I was in a fashion show, that doesn't make me a model. Just like putting kittens in the oven don't make them muffins.
Well, he is a comedian. You got that part.
And to the white people, I apologize for saying kittens in the oven. I didn't mean that literally, okay? No cats were harmed during the taping of this podcast, so.
I love it. Oh, we're going to have a good show today. I need your manager.
Shout out to my manager, Julie King, who's flying around the country, man, doing her thing. So.
All right. And thank you, Miss King, for our contact together and everything that you sent me. Got me out here calling Larry a model.
I have a model since high school, man.
All right. Well, we will get into everything that
a model for Value City. You ever see the ads they send you? They has two guys standing around in their underwear with a basketball. Like, come on, that's not realistic. But you never seen an ad, the underwear ad? They got to hold a basketball and they pointing to something off in the distance. Like, with, okay.
No, but now you're making me want to see it. All right, so you know how we do. We get into the news first, talk about a topic that's a hot topic that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. And this is, don't look at me like that. I'm having a hot flash.
Oh, really? I was like, what happened? All of a sudden, did the sprinkler system go off only on your side of the room? I'm just like, you look nice and glazed though, because you got a pretty complexion. So not everybody can pull this off. But
thank you, glazed,
yes,
glazed, glistening,
like a nice Krispy Kreme.
So you're crazy. So being very transparent, yes, I am of age that I have hot flashes.
But you still look young, like you got a girlish look to you though.
Thank you.
I see the little gray, but it looks premature. It doesn't look like it's supposed to be there. But okay, I digress.
Thank you so much. Right. Okay, so to get into look. I won't look glistening through the whole show.
Okay.
It doesn't usually go
all right,
like
she
that.
handed you.
Oh, thank you. Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot.
It was like as soon as the camera came on, I looked over and it was like.
and I saw the look in your eyes. And the wild part about it is I've had hot flashes during the shows before. And I just try to sit and not think about it.
Right.
And stay involved.
I'm like, why Ty look like she glistening? Like she just came out the pool or something.
I just try to stay involved, in the show, right? But at the same time, I also gave the disclaimer prior to the show, you know, normally is what I do to my guests. I'm like, look, I might have a high flash.
Okay.
You know, don't think I'm gonna fall out or anything like that.
All right. The joys of womanhood.
Right. You don't have to walk off and then go get me water or anything.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. As long as you're all right.
I'm good. But I didn't get to give that disclaimer to you.
Okay, it's fine.
I looked at you.
I've been around women all my life. I understand.
Good. All right. So we're going to get into the news.
Okay.
The news today is about Mr. Kanye West, now known as Ye. Just Ye.
I don't know if I like that. That sounds real feminine. That sounds like something you hear at the gay pride parade. Like, yay. Like, I just... Okay.
You hear that, Kanye?
Yeah.
Because you know he watches my show, right?
Oh, does he? Okay.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised. And he probably will comment.
Yeah, because he always got something to say, right? God bless you.
I have sinuses, so now we both are revealing our vulnerabilities and imperfections. So if I sneeze or cough or something, I don't have COVID. I had sinus trouble, and the slightest thing can set my nose off. Like if you wear a floral shirt and the flowers look too real, I need some Zyrtec to sit beside you. That's how bad my sinuses are. So let's just, between the hot flashes and we gonna get through it.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
We gonna land this plane.
There you go. All right, so Mr. Ye, which I'm not going to get used to that for a while. I'm
call him Kanye.
He's Kanye. He's
right.
Kanye. All right, so Kanye said that this is how this came about. He was on a podcast, and the podcast is like rappers that are like sitting around talking.
I think it's drink champs.
Drink champs, exactly. So they're sitting around talking, and they talk about all kinds of stuff, on the podcast and everything. And it was brought up about George Floyd's death. And Kanye says that, George Floyd didn't die from, the knee on the neck. It was barely on his neck. And I saw that and I was like, oh. And then he says that, no, he died from fentanyl.
Right.
That was taken, before he was arrested.
Right.
So, it's, it's been said, like between the autopsy, of course, for the medical examiner's office, and it's been proven in other ways that really that George Floyd's death was, from Derek Chauvin having his knee on his neck. Right. Approximately
he was
9
convicted.
minutes.
He was convicted, right, of murder. He went to jail, which seldom happens. So why all of a sudden Kanye has access to information that the legal justice system, who hardly ever convicts cops, especially in a situation like this, what information that he has access to that they don't?
Right. I was real surprised that it was even discussed.
Right.
It was even brought up on the podcast.
Right. And I think I'm hearing that Candace Owens had something to do with this documentary. And for those of us who don't know who Candace Owens is, she's a right-wing mouthpiece. She does. She's pretty well known in those circles, and she's a conservative, I guess, commentator, to put it nicely. And I can't even say that I always disagree with everything she says, because that would be disingenuous. I would say about 1%. There are times when she makes sense and she has a good point, but 99% of the time, it seems like she's dedicated her whole life to seeing to it that white people get a fair shake. And I just don't understand black people like that. Like, with your power and your platform and all your influence, this is what you want to direct your energy to. What about exposing the corruption and the injustices that are done to black people all the time?
Exactly.
But instead, you want to do just the opposite with saying that George Floyd was killed by fentanyl. And this is a continuing theme, so it's not nothing new. When the police do something, they vilify the victim. They go back in time and like, well, he stole cable and he cheated on his taxes in 78. Right. So that justifies you shooting him in the back or putting your neck on him for 8 minutes or 9 minutes or however long. Like, we don't have the footage. Like, we didn't see this.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought up Candace Owens. So I watched, and, you know, I watched a whole segment that Candace Owens did, and she sat there and she's like reading from this piece of paper George Floyd's like whole rap sheet. And I'm like, why is that relevant?
Right. But here's the other thing. Again, why not take that time and energy and read how many times the police officers were convicted of charged with brutality? Check out their histories. See how many times they've been transferred for the same thing. Or when these guys get fired, then they get in. Like, you could use your investigative panache to come up with that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's much to do about nothing. And with stuff like this, I don't really like to give it a lot of energy because I feel like that's what these people do. It might not have been a lot of room for her on the black activist side. So I'm gonna give you a perfect analogy. There are some guys I know who want to get a scholarship, right? And they say, okay, well, you know what? Everyone's playing basketball and football, so I'm gonna go play lacrosse and I'll have a better shot at being something special. And I feel like that's what she's doing. She's the black lacrosse player.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
If anyone who understands like that analogy.
Yes, I do.
It's not a room for her on the black activism side. So it's like, oh, I'll come over here and I'll be celebrated and exalted because I'll say things that white people will be called racist to say. And I'll give white people cover for their racist ideologies because it's coming from a black face. And that's her value to them.
Yeah, it's like playing devil's advocate on all subjects,
right? On
all roles, you know.
Right.
You know, I didn't see the point in that because, you know, like you said, it doesn't make it really didn't make sense. And you know,
and let's say he did have a rap sheet that long. Should he be murdered for it?
Right. Well, that was my whole point. It didn't. Right. It didn't make sense that this is the way she commentated her show. It was to sit there and badmouth. And
let's say he did have fentanyl in his system. That's not what killed him. It was the knee on the neck while he had fentanyl in his system, if he did at all.
Exactly.
And we do that all the time. We go back and try to justify the actions of people who overreact, and we never see them do this to white people. We see a white boy could drive across state lines, shoot up people, be allowed, to kill people and then get off. We see white people storm the Capitol and be allowed to get in their cars and go back home. When we had a sister who had a mental distress episode, she had a child in her car. She drove towards the gate and they shot her about 50, 60 times.
Right.
So where was all this vigilance when these people were storming the Capitol and beating up Capitol police and killed some of them? So it's just, the disparities are there. So when people come out with these crazy notions and they act like they're dropping some type of bomb or conspiracy theory to a counterpoint, I just don't really give it a lot of energy. And as for Kanye, Kanye's a billionaire, and I think he thinks that buys him some type of license to do and say what he wants. And I think he's starting to understand that you still have to answer to someone. And if you go against the grain, and when you're in that altitude, you're going to pay a price for it. And I don't think Kanye really thinks about the things that he says. And some people seem to think because he's successful at one thing, that he's right and successful about everything. And sometimes you should just stick to what you're good at.
Exactly. Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, of course, he's being sued,
Mm-hmm.
for $250 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now this is for harassment, misappropriation, defamation, and inflection of emotional stress.
Right. Now I can understand the family being angry with him and even maybe suing him, but I also same challenge to that family, and I almost feel kind of weird saying this because, with respect to their loss and their grief and everything, but did they go after the police department with the same vigor to them too? Or did they sue them for the same amount?
Excellent point.
Because they killed a family member unjustly. So was that lawsuit the same price?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, why? Because it's not an equal crime.
It is not. It is not.
Murder doesn't equate to saying something stupid or even insensitive. So what was the lawsuit for the police department?
Right. Right. And so what they're doing is they're talking about suing it. Well, they are going to sue not only Kanye West, but they're saying and business associates, like anyone involved, maybe even the podcast. Like, why was it even brought up?
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes because, of course, you're suing for defamation of character and all of this. However, he's already passed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when it comes to
you can still bring up someone's character because your reputation lives on. So if you can attack that, then you should be able to pay a price for that. Mm-hmm. If what you're saying is not true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's like from a legal standpoint, was a libel, was a slander,
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, it's going to I'm waiting to see how it's going to pan out. How this whether or not they're going to they have a legal leg to stand on.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly hear what you're saying about was the same vigor applied to the police department, and I don't think it was.
And I'm not even saying they're wrong for going after Kanye that way. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I just would be interested in to seeing because I think we also do that as Black people. We go after each other differently than we go after the other people. Mm-hmm. And I just want us to get out of the habit of doing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once again, Kanye is,
and that's for both parties because Kanye should have kept his mouth shut. He shouldn't have weighed in on that. You really don't. I don't know what information you have or why you felt like that was necessary. And let's say he's right? Let's say Candace Owens is right. With all the things that are going on, with all the hell that Black people are catching, why is that relevant with everything else that's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't you use your power, influence, and platform to right some of those wrongs instead of this one?
Right.
So.
Right. And that goes for Candace Owens. I would want to see her adjust her platform, definitely. Mm-hmm. But don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
All right. Well, we are going to take a break, commercial break, pay some bills, and make sure you come back. The Tyese Show, News and Ooze on the Coyoteman Show Network.
We must secure our families. KFG Life Insurance Specialist is a company that partnered with 15 of the top life insurance companies to ensure you get the best pricing, knowledge, and products to suit your family needs. Some people believe that term insurance is better than whole life insurance, while others feel the complete opposite. Some may feel like universal life is the way to go, and others may feel it's better to have a whole life policy. The truth is, neither of the products are better. One just may be more suitable for your family. Our life insurance specialists are not biased, as they are partnered with several life insurance companies. This ensures our clients get the best pricing, education, and products that are suitable for their families. Let KFG Life Insurance Specialist make these decisions easier for you and your family. Our office is located at Security Square Mall, next to Burlington, in the Coyoteman Show Network. Please call to make an appointment at 443-400-5224 or go to www.lifeinsurancespecialist.org. That's www.lifeinsurancespecialist.org. Let KFG Life Insurance Specialist help you prepare your family in the present, because the future is not promised. Act now.
Welcome back to the Tyese Show, News and Ooze. And if you are just tuning in, we were just talking about how Mr. Kanye West, now who wants to be known as Ye, has said that George Floyd did not die from a knee on his neck for 9 minutes, but did in fact die from a fentanyl intake before he was arrested. However, we know that that has been proven not the case several times. And now Derek Chauvin is serving his time.
Right.
Now, something else about Mr. Ye is that now he has also, his clothing line, he has put in his clothing line a shirt that says "White Lives Matter."
Right.
Okay. So I watched his interview, an interview where he was defending that. And it was, I'm not going to say it was shocking to me, because I've seen several interviews with Kanye over the years and everything, listen to some of his music and all that, kind of try to see where the man is coming from. But his answer to why he would have a shirt in his clothing line that says "White Lives Matter" was because they do.
Well, we all know that. Like, that's why the term Black Lives Matter was coined. And so what people don't see is it says Black Lives Matter, but in parentheses, also. Because we always knew and understood. America never lets us forget, or white society never lets us forget, that white lives matter. We had to remind them that our lives matter too. And that's where the term came from. And I think people confuse the establishment or the people who were, instrumental in organizing, and they confused that with the people who took advantage of the movement, hijacked it, and made money off of it.
Right.
That doesn't discount the movement or the necessity for it. It's just like people never get rid of religion because they had priests who fondled kids. People still respect Catholicism. They still understand what it means to them.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Great analogy.
So why is it that with something like this, now we just throw the baby out with the bathwater? It was a reason why Black Lives Matter was coined, and it's still relevant, it's still necessary, because as we see that our lives aren't looked at with the same value as white people.
Right.
And they never have.
Right.
Since we've been in this country, in America. It's always been that way. And so for him, as a black man who understands racism, who understands the struggles of being a black man and moving about in society, why would you say that? Especially when you built your brand and your money off of black people, off of black culture. So it's a betrayal. And then
I can agree with that.
And then on top of that, when you don't get your way or something doesn't happen for you the way you want it to, then you want to pull the race card. That's very dangerous and it's disingenuous.
I feel like he throws tantrums.
Yeah, but I don't know if a lot of this is attributed to his mental illness, which I believe he has. And so some of it is not just him being a jerk, because there are times when he sounds very thoughtful, He sounds, you understand exactly what he's saying and where he's coming from. And then there are times when it's like, what the hell is he talking about? And I think that's where you get that inconsistency. Because, you know, I think sometimes, and I think a lot of things he does for attention or, you know, for shock value. But we don't know. No one really knows why Kanye does what Kanye does. All I know is that we can mostly agree that it's bizarre. And it's not helpful. And it's definitely not helpful to the culture in which he made his success.
Yeah, it doesn't attribute to the culture at all. And I can say that I definitely see, you know, what you're saying about him saying and doing the things that he does for shock value. I mean, I want to say that he just does things to stay completely relevant. When I looked at the time frame from him saying that that George Floyd died from fentanyl intake and the White Lives Matter, you know, being added to his clothing line, we're talking about literally like maybe 2 weeks, if that long. You know, so it's like ongoing. It's like all the time. It's something going on with him. Something going on with him.
And the other thing I want people to understand, particularly black people, stop thinking because a person is successful or they made a lot of money that they're always right, because they're not. And it doesn't mean that they're always smarter. I'll tell you, the only thing you can say is he made a lot of money. It doesn't mean he's smarter, better, or any wiser than anybody else. And we've seen that with Donald Trump. That notion has been exposed, that rich people are somehow smarter and wiser. They just are better at making money. That's it.
I feel like that's why Kanye does a lot of what he does, is just to show, hey, I can make more money.
Right.
I can make more money. And in his mind, from what I see, he puts himself really above other people because he can make more, because he makes more money. He has said that. You know, so not because he is well studied, more intelligent, you know, Renaissance man, knowledgeable on several subjects, and you should listen to him. You know, that's not what we get from him.
Right.
You know, I think he thinks that, you know, and they said years ago that he's the mental illness is bipolar. And you know, from what we know about that condition, about being bipolar, I can't even say you can put everything, all the controversy that he brings about on him being bipolar. I want to say he's also a narcissist.
Well, I believe that's a mental condition as well.
Oh yes.
And sometimes being a narcissist is a byproduct of those other conditions, because you know you create defense mechanisms to protect yourself or hide your insecurities, and that's where a lot of times the narcissism can come into play. Exactly,
hiding insecurities. All right, so we're going to move on. I want to give due time to Mr. Larry Lancaster here. So we're going to bypass the model thing. I was going to have you give it all up and be like, well, how did you become a model?
Yes.
Well,
don't sound so surprised, Tyese. Like, how did you become a model? I don't really like your tone right now, because I feel like it's a tone of disbelief. Like, so let's just...
See, you done took it over to the left field.
Okay.
When I read this, okay, it didn't. I didn't think to myself, Larry, a model? No,
that's just the way you said it, though. You know, the way you just said it was like, I mean, how did you become a model? And we really want to understand this. How did you achieve the impossible?
No, it's just
like I'm a magician, and you asking how I did some type of magic trick. That's how you sounded. Like, okay, but you're forgiven.
You're not a model. You could be.
Okay, that's better. That's what I was looking for,
I
right?
think so. See? All right, well, then let's get into what some may not know about you, and that is that you have a radio show.
Yes, that's one of my loves, my passion. I host a radio show. I started out as a guest on Mornings with Mikkel. Shout out to my big sister Mikkel, and shout out to Mallory Pinkett Pierre, who saw something in me and gave me these opportunities, and I really appreciate her for that. Also, shout out Mark Clark, who also saw something in me and gave me an opportunity to kind of learn and be fill-in for him when he was on vacation. Also want to shout out my man Frank Johnson, April Johnson, who allowed me to be on their morning show on internet. It was called, the Live Wire Morning Show, so I learned a lot about radio from these people. So I definitely wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for them, pouring into me and giving me those opportunities. So shout out to those people. But yeah, it's a 2-hour show. It comes on Saturday from 10 to 12. And what I wanted to do is take radio back to what it used to be. Because most people, let's face it, conventional radio is really a dying medium. People have so many other platforms. People listen to Spotify, they listen to Apple, they listen to all these different things. But I grew up on radio where it entertained, educated, and informed, particularly the Black community. So I wanted to take radio back to that, where we had the music that we grew up on, the stuff that made you feel good, mixed in with a lot of the new current stuff, because there is new current stuff that's good. Not all of it's bad. And also, have topics and segments that are beneficial and productive for our community. So that's what the show is. And I'm very proud of it. And then through that, they asked me to host the morning show called Good Morning Baltimore. And all of this takes place on WEAA 88.9 FM. Nice. You can also download and stream on weaa.org. So I'm on 7 to 10. Monday through Friday, and I'm on 10 to 12 on Saturday. So that's 6 days a week you get to experience Larry Lancaster.
All right.
And shout out to my co-host, Erica Kane, who's on the morning show with me. Good Morning Baltimore. Just love working with her. She's a joy. My little sister, we click right away. And also shout out to my man, Mike Nice, who's my co-host on the Saturday show. So I'm surrounded by great people who keep me in line, so.
I love it. I love it. 6 days a week.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm happy about that.
So we're going to get into now what I knew first about you, and that is you being a comedian.
Yes.
Come out and seen Larry perform, and just busting stitches.
Well, thank you.
I love your performances.
How many times have you seen me?
I have seen you online a couple of times, but I've seen you in person 3-ish.
3 times. That's good. That's good enough. Anything more than 3 is stalkerish, but it's a thin line between support and stalker. So you just want to make sure you keep that. Yeah, but no, I'm just kidding. I have people who've seen me multiple times, and it actually I'm really happy when people say all the times I've seen you, you've always been funny, because that's very difficult as a comic, because a lot of times we reuse and recycle the same material. People think every time you're on stage, you do something different, and that's just not how it works.
Right.
And I tell people, give us the same respect you'd give a singer. You go see Luther Vandross or anybody who's your favorite singer, they sing from their catalog. That's how these jokes are gonna be. You don't expect Luther to be singing a whole lot of new material. You want to hear the classics. So when you come see a comic, sometimes new material is overrated. And yeah, you can get new stuff, but would it be funny? So it takes time to develop jokes. It's a science to it, and you just don't always scrap a 45-minute set for someone else to see something new. That's a misconception. Let me give you an example. Say you go to the average show, and the average show has about 200 people. Let's say 50 of those people have seen you before, right? That means 150 people have not.
Right.
So I'm gonna do all new stuff and potentially not be funny, because new stuff has to be tried and true and tested out to police 50 people instead of getting the 150 people.
Makes sense.
Right.
Completely makes sense. So what was life like before comedy?
Well, comedy has been a part of my life since I can remember. So I don't, unless you mean what was life like before I was a professional comedian.
Yes.
Because comedy was always a part of my life. But I mean, it was just being funny in inappropriate times and places because I didn't have an outlet. That's what it was like before I was a professional comedian. You know, when you have an outlet, you like the more I performed and became professional, I didn't feel the need to do that in other settings and other surroundings. It's like, okay, now I'm a professional. I have a time and a place for that outlet. But before that, I was just cracking jokes anywhere and everywhere. So that's how I knew that this is what I wanted to do, because I was doing it for free anyway. And that's what I think people don't understand about. If you're passionate about something, take what you're passionate about, the one thing that you're going to do no matter what until you die, and figure out a way to monetize it.
Exactly. I tell people that all the time, even in mental health counseling. I tell people that,
right,
you know, that you should always, you know, pray for what your purpose is. You know,
and I think it's a difference between purpose and passion. A lot of times they're the same, but sometimes they're different. So I feel like comedy is my passion and my purpose. Fashion is a passion of mine. I don't look at it as a purpose, but it is a passion. Radio has become a passion and a purpose. Mentoring, you know, kids and giving back to the community that way is a purpose for me. And then that also becomes a passion. So I think you should do things that you're purposeful and passionate about, but a lot of us spend a lifetime not doing any of those things. We don't even know what they are. I think we should give a lot of thought to that.
Yes,
and it'll make you a better person.
Yes, we should. You have to know, you know, what are you here for?
Right.
You know, and we should not want to go through life, as they say, working for 40 years, you know, and, you know, just like we weren't put here just to pay bills and die. I
think it puts your life in perspective. If most of us first of all, figured out what our passion and purposes were, and it could be more than one, it just had to be one.
Right.
You wouldn't spend so much time on petty stuff, on doing things that don't really add to that, because that would take up a lot of your time in your life. And then, you know, you still have to have your free time for pleasure, enjoyment, and all the other things. But if you spent a lot of your time trying to figure out what your purpose and passion, you will find yourself not really participating in things that don't serve that, like gossip and pettiness and the other things. It would cut down on a lot of that other stuff.
Because you should condense your time to what it is that best serves you.
Right. And serving others too, because I think you can't get away from that.
No.
Yeah.
No, you.
I think that's important. I mean, not everybody's cut out to do that, but I think you should still find some kind of way to not just do something for yourself. You should try to do things for other people, because that just doing things for yourself is a very selfish way of looking at things.
Exactly. Now, and even like here with the tagline for my show, what we do for therapy. You know, for instance, you know, as they say, laughter is medicine.
It is.
You know, so this is
it's a ministry.
Right. There you go. So this is part of what you may do for therapy. However, you're giving to others.
Right.
You know, so it's your passion, it's your purpose, you know.
Well, I also want to make a distinction too. Sometimes people need real therapy. Some people use an outlet and think that's therapy, but those are two different things. And so I'm not saying therapy is always necessary, but for some people it is. Sometimes you had to sit down with a qualified and appropriate professional to help you with some of the traumas that we've experienced as people. But the outlet is something that you can do yourself.
I see. Exactly.
So that's the difference.
So, and a lot of people may not even know that you mentor kids.
Yes.
You know,
I work in the elementary school. Shout out to Park Heights Academy. Shout out to Miss McLean and Miss Smith and all the staff. Just a bunch of wonderful people. I love them all, and they really care about the children. And that definitely keeps you on point, because when you're around people who always have the children's best interests at heart, that kind of shapes the way you do things, and it makes your job a lot easier. These beautiful little angels in Park Heights, badass kids, but I love them. And they just need love and direction and guidance, and that's what I try to give them, particularly from a black man's standpoint, because I think a lot of us aren't standing up and stepping up and answering the call. And a lot of times the black man is non-existent. I hate to say that, because it discounts all the black men who are there, who are stepping up and doing what they're supposed to do. But there should be a lot more of us, and there needs to be a lot more of us, because when the man is gone, the women and children are easy prey. They're going to be unprotected, and that's what we're seeing. Our women haven't been protected, haven't been cared for, haven't been provided for. And this is why we see a lot of the hyper masculinity of our women, because they have to kind of fulfill both roles because the men aren't there like they should. And I'm not just talking about coming over somebody's house, smashing them every once in a while and then leaving. I'm talking about protecting and providing for a woman the way we supposed to. We're not doing that. Even to my own, I haven't always done it. But there's sometimes when you got to say, hey, this is part of my purpose. And so I need to fulfill that.
It's about everyone knowing their role.
Right. And maturing and growing up and understanding, like, yo, I can't keep doing this, this childlike behavior. And that's, being a man is very serious. And and the Bible says you have to put away foolish things.
Exactly. You become a man, you put away childish things. And now you have performed all over and performed for some large audiences, like BET's Comic View, and also Showtime at the Apollo.
Well, I didn't actually do Showtime at the Apollo, although I did perform at the Apollo. So it wasn't the same as like the Gong Show, because to be honest, I would never do that. I had an opportunity to do that, and I just felt like they never really give a comic a chance to really show what they have. Now, that's not to say comics haven't done that platform and been successful. I just never wanted to do it. I don't really like being in situations where people don't want to hear what I have to say, and they're kind of booing you before you even start. So I'm at the point in my career where I just resist those type of things. But I did perform at the Apollo. Shout out to Bob Sumner, who was the producer of a Def Comedy Jam. And he did that for years. So he's a heavyweight in the comedy game. And he selected me to be on the showcase at the Apollo. So that's how I got to do that. And that was a great opportunity.
I see.
I had my name on the marquee at the Apollo Theater and everything. It was awesome.
Wow.
And I had a really good set, so I really appreciate that opportunity to be able to do that.
Okay. Now, were you with Miss King, your manager at the
Yes,
time?
Julie. Yeah, she was there with me. Eartha came up, my uncle. We just had a nice little car ride, and we went up, and people supported me. So it was a lot of fun.
Okay, because I was gonna contact Miss King and see if I can be a model.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm sure she'll work something out for you.
Because that's what told me that.
Yeah, like my grandma would say, every pot got a top.
Okay.
It's something for everybody. So.
I'm just kidding. That was just funny to me. So now, what? Who is your favorite comedian? Do you have a favorite?
Well, people ask me this, and it's always a tricky question because, of course, there's Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Martin Lawrence, Dave Chappelle, of course, Chris Rock. Damon Wayans, and that's always, I could go through a list of guys who were just great at what they do, but a lot of times it's a comic that no one's ever heard of.
Really?
Yeah, those are the guys who I like to give a lot of credit. There's a guy named Raymond Grady who's extremely funny. A guy named Antoine Scott. A guy named Ballhead out of Chicago. Freddie Ricks. Guys like that. Talent. These guys, Gerald Kelly. What's my guy? I can't remember his name right now, but there's some guys who are just amazingly funny. Joe Recker, who's passed, he was one of my favorites. Michael Washington, Jay Phillips, Tony Woods. You know, these guys have a comedic ease, like they're funny almost with no effort. And so I appreciate those guys. Of course, you got the well-known guys, and most people who know who they are. You know, the Kevin Harts and the Mike Epps, and all these guys are extremely funny. And also, you know, nice guys, but they're guys who people have never heard of that are extremely funny. I mean, and there's so many to name. I just worked with a guy last night. Name was Lawrence Owens. Brilliant comic. Laughing Lenny. These guys are very funny. Chris Thomas, Kevin Anthony, Sylvia Traymore, who was one of the first black female associate writer on SNL, been doing comedy for 50 years. She does impressions. She was one of the first black female impressionists, a historical figure. That's one of my heroes, you know, people like that. Even guys like, I came up under Ricky Shackelford and Howard G. I owe a lot of my career to them, grooming me. Stacey Carver, a guy that took me under his wing and showed me a lot. So if I sometimes I feel funny about saying names because I may leave somebody out, but it doesn't mean that I don't know who you are and I don't acknowledge you. It just means that I didn't think of your name at the time, but it's no reflection on your impact on the comedy game. Even my female comics like Ray Diva.
Yeah, I was waiting for you
my
to
little
get to
sisters, you know, Maria Sanchez, a sister out of DC named Ashley Mayo. Just it's a lot. Paris Sachet. It's funny people, man. Just a lot of great comedy. A young brother coming up named David Butler, who's like a comedic genius to me. So it's just so many people that I can name that I work with that are funny. They just haven't gotten that break to make them household names, but have just as much talent as the people that we know of.
Right. They need Miss Julie King.
Yeah. Jumpstart those modeling careers.
Right.
You just not letting that go, right? It's like a tagline for you. Now, I ain't bring up the hot flash not one time, Matt. Did you drive yourself off?
I'm good now.
And you still on this model thing.
I might have another one before this show is over. Look, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
You're not glistening.
No.
Right. You glowing, but not glistening. Yeah. All right.
Now, with your opening for you've opened for one of my favorite subjects, The Entertainer. You open for some more.
Yep. Eddie Griffin, Gary Owens, Mark Carey, Guy Torrey, Kevin Hart, Mike Epps, Dick Gregory, opened for him like 3 times. Opened for Paul Mooney once. Robert Townsend. I've been blessed, man, to work with Rodney Perry. I said Eddie Griffin, right? It's just a lot, man. So I've been blessed to work. Damon Williams. I'm sorry, I never opened for Damon Wayans. I would love to, but yeah. Huggy Lowdown, Chris Paul. Just been able to work with some great talent. Even Tracy Morgan. I don't really mention Tracy Morgan because he wasn't very nice to me. Yeah, I didn't really care for him too much. Okay. He just didn't seem like a happy person. And when you work with people who aren't necessarily happy people, that translates to how they treat other people.
Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah, and I generally don't name names like that, but it just came out. So, oh well. I'm too small to cancel.
Now, I like for instance, like even earlier today, I was watching it. This is you know, old now, but I was watching Arnez J, and he does some impressions. I like him. Very funny.
Very funny guy.
Yes. Ari Spears. I used to love for him to see him do impressions. I like the impressions. I also like a comedian who is on social issues and like leaves nobody out.
Right.
Like, I mean, they talk about black people, white people, gay
that was the
people,
brilliance of a Paul Mooney. He could do all of that stuff and talk about the racial issues, and he was unapologetic about it, and he was just brilliant for that.
I really like that. It shows,
and of course, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, they do that too, and they're brilliant at it.
Yes.
So they're more like modern day philosophers who just happen to be funny now. So they'll be their perspective and take on things will stand the test of time, not just commercially, but I think 20, 30 years from now, we'll still be talking about some of the things that they talked about through comedy. And of course, Kevin Hart is someone who took comedy commercially where no one has taken it. Right. So he deserves credit for that.
Right, exactly. So
even the Cat Williams, who does a lot of social stuff. He's really good at that too.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Then what kind of projects, like do you have any projects that are going on right now?
Yeah, well, I have a weekly room that I do, and I try to give comics a place to come and share their talent. And I also have like a headline to close it out. I do that every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, and it's at the Avenue Kitchen. It's over in Hampden in Baltimore, Maryland. And that's a great shout out to David Kaiser, who's the promoter. He does a wonderful job. And matter of fact, this Tuesday I'm going to be starting another open mic at a spot called Remix, which is down on Pratt Street. It's right across the street from the Reginald Lewis Museum. I'm going to be doing that at about 7:30 every Tuesday. So those are 2 weekly rooms where I sharpen my knife. I get to go up, test out new material, talk to the audience, and be in front of a crowd routinely. And have that open up to other comics who want to do the same. And I'm always proud of those things. And also, of course, the radio show. I'm also involved in the play, which will be premiering November the 20th. It's called Prayers Club. Shout out to Sherelle. I can't remember Sherelle's last name, but she's the writer and director of the play. And that'll be at Magooby's Joke House. And, of course,
Sherelle.
I'm booked and busy, so I'm just grateful.
I hear.
I'm grateful.
I hear. And thank you for letting us know of everything that you have up and coming. And I would love to see you more.
Yes. All you got to do is when you see the flyer or information or text me, hey, what you got going on, just show up. That's all you got to do.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I'm hearing the days that you do this one this day and this one that day. I definitely want to come see the play. And I actually know Sherelle. I met her years ago.
Real nice, sweet lady.
Yes, yes. So I'm definitely going to come to that. I don't care what I have to switch in my schedule, but I'm definitely going to come to that. You know, Tuesdays is sounding pretty good.
Right.
But I with counseling, I actually work until sometimes like 9 o'clock at night.
Right, because we actually work for the same mentoring agency.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I think you do notes too. You're a note writer.
I do notes as well. Right.
I hate them damn notes.
Right.
We having a private conversation for those who don't understand. If you work in PRP or you mentor kids, you gotta write these notes up, and most of the time you gotta lie on the notes.
Don't say
it's like
that.
I can't say, look, I took Shorty to Walmart with me while I ran my errands. You gotta. But sometimes that's all the kids need. They need interaction. They need somebody to pay attention to them, take them on outings, and spend some time with them. But you have to do it with a therapy kind of perspective, and that's what helps the child and redirect them. But I always just try to be there for them, man, and let them know I'm a phone call away. If you need me, I'm a resource for you, and that's for the parents as well. So.
So, Mr. Larry Lancaster.
Oh, shout out to Above It All. Love you guys, man.
Psychiatric Rehabilitation Program counselor.
No, that's you. That ain't me.
No.
I don't know where you got that title. That's right up there with model. Like I'm not. Nope. I'm not. I'm a direct care counselor. That's what I am.
Okay. Yeah. You're a direct
I'm the one who pick the kids up, come in the hood, pick them up, and take them out, and then bring them back. That's me.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't have no certificates.
Doing your part. Doing your part right there.
No college credits. I'm just, I'm a hood cat who grew up tough, and I know I understood hood kids, and I got away with them. So.
Hey, well, but that's but we need a lot more of that, for men and women. Step up.
Mm-hmm. And when you work with these kids, you know that training goes out the window. Them kids don't give a damn about your psychotherapy. You got to know how to talk to them and reach them.
You do.
They don't care about your training, what they say. You're supposed to reassure little Johnny. Nah, you got to get at him sometimes. Mm-hmm. And you got to do it with love, though, because kids can tell when it's coming from a place of love. And they had a power of discernment. And kids can also tell when you've given up on them. So you never want to let a child to see you do that. Mm-hmm. But you got to hold them accountable and responsible for their actions. So they got to know that, too.
All of that.
Right.
So
I'm sure you got that training. Miss Psychotherapist, counselor, upper management, administrative. I don't know all of that stuff you added.
I'm doing my part.
Right, you're doing your part.
So, okay, I'm going to do this again. Mr. Larry Lancaster, radio show host.
Yes.
Comedian.
Yes.
Actor.
Yes.
Not a model. Hey, but thank you for coming on the show.
Have model, but not a model. I'm not. Yeah. I take a nice pic every once in a while. That's it.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for being tuned in to the Tyese Show News and Ooze. Do not forget to download the Coyoteman Show Network on your mobile apps. We are also seen on Roku and Amazon TV. And feel free to contact us live during the show. Thank you. Please return next Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Tyese Show News and Ooze.